everybody, and welcome to another episode of Design Cinema. It is a gorgeous Friday morning here in Singapore. Just got into work and I thought, you know what, let's record a new episode. It's been a while, lots to do, and recording a new episode of Design Cinema is just as important as everything else. So let's jump into this episode. We're going to be talking about designing from silhouettes. So let's write that out. And you probably notice, why am I writing so slowly? Is because I'm going to be recording this episode. Hold on a second, I need to write this out real quick. Forgot a letter, silhouettes, okay. So two things we're going to be doing a little bit different in this episode, one of which I just mentioned. We are recording in real time, so whatever you see on screen is the speed that I'm working, as well as the audio. So we're going hand in hand here. There's no pre-recorded technique and then I'm doing my voiceover on top. You're just getting everything at once. So I have to apologize ahead of time for possible random noises with my keyboard and whatever is going to happen in the next hour or so. Like maybe someone's going to enter my office or my dog barking. I have no idea, but I think that also makes it quite fun. And two, I'm going to be focusing a little bit more about design this episode, right? Which, let's write that down right here. In the past few episodes, we've been talking about design as well in terms of different ways to think about it. But this one, we're going to go from almost a early stage, a very important step of design, which is right here, silhouette, right? So we have design, and we're going to talk about silhouette. So let's write both of these down. I don't want to repeat it. Let's just say that's right there, design with silhouette. So let's first talk about that. Let's see, let's give you a summary of what this episode is going to be about. Again, I apologize for the real time. So what you guys are experiencing is going to be similar to what our students get as well. So that, it's real time, you guys are sitting in class, so let's do this. So for part one is, why is this important? And part two, I'll be showing you guys a fun little exercise that you guys could do at home to experiment with this method, and it's really fun. Trust me, when you guys see it, it's really easy to do. It frees up your creativity, gets rid of a little bit of fear of joy and all of that kind of stuff, and just allows you to create in an almost free-form way. It's quite relaxing. So we'll get to that in part two, but let's jump into part one. Why is a silhouette important? Now, a lot of you guys probably seen silhouettes. In fact, I've done a DVD of silhouettes way back in the Noman days. This is 2003. I did the Fighting Robot DVD, which has silhouettes that are solid black. It looks something like this, for example, right? I'll just silhouette one out, but except it's solid. Let me show you guys what that looks like. And this method is very valid. It is something that is used even today in the industry because it's very powerful. What I'll do today is I'm going to combine a little bit of that with something else to show you guys just a little bit alternate way of creating silhouettes. I think that adds even more, I guess, fun or creativity into it than just a solid black shape. But this never changes. This is super strong. Why? Because, let me open up a little example that we show our students here. Boink. All right. So this is something I put together a few years ago to show our students exactly what I'm showing you guys, which is why are silhouettes so important. We have here a bunch of characters and vehicles and props and so forth from some pretty big movies in Hollywood. And let's go through some of these. I think hopefully you guys watching should recognize, I'm guessing, at least 90% of what's on this page. If not, maybe you're a little bit younger or new to the industry, but these are things that working in the business, we have to almost know exactly what all these are. So let's run through these real quick. We have the Sentinel from Matrix. This is Ratatouille. We have the little dragon, I forgot his name, from Mulan. Jiminy Cricket, we have Mickey Mouse here, and Little Mermaid, we have Shrek over here. This guy over here is the Iron Giant, of course, the Beast and Belle. Should I run through all these? Maybe I will. Let's pretend this is a class and this is, I'm not gonna edit anything out, right? This is exactly how I would be teaching. So this is the Terminator, the T2, which the new movie just came out, didn't it? Zorro, Gollum from Lord of the Rings. We got a TIE Fighter here, the older version of the USS Enterprise from Star Trek, and E.T. We have the Star Destroyer, T-Rex from Jurassic Park, and X-Wing. We have Timon and Simba, and what is that guy named? Pumbaa? No, that's Pumbaa. This is Timon. This is Simba. Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, the Alien from the Alien franchise. We have Scully, what's his name, right? From Monsters Inc. And I forgot this dude's name, the little green eyeball guy. This is actually number 5 from Short Circuit. which I think the character Wall-E was inspired from as well. This is an older movie, came out in the 80s, original design by Sid Mead, a beautiful design. And here's of course Wall-E from the Pixar film. R2-D2, Han Solo, we have Buzz Lightyear and Woody, Nemo, Tinkerbell, Darth Vader of course, Catwoman, Batman, and lastly we have Freddy Krueger. Now, you can see just by looking at the pure silhouettes, we could recognize these characters. That just shows you how important a strong silhouette is, because there's no detail. I mean, we're not seeing any nuts and bolts or cut lines or cockpit designs or even face design, especially for these characters. You're not seeing their face at all. I mean, look at Lara Croft and stuff. But yet, you can still recognize who they are. And that's where, let's go back to here, the importance of silhouettes comes in. You want a very, very strong shape, right, to start with, because that makes everything else a little bit easier. Reason is because if we take, for example, this little TIE fighter here, I'm just going to copy and paste that into, well, doesn't let me, okay, hold on, doink, okay. See, real time, no time to edit, so you're going to get what you get here. So here's a little TIE fighter. Now, in the film version of this, of course, the cockpit looks something like that, right? Like an octagon type of glass thing with some guns over here. But because the silhouette is so strong, if the film released this TIE fighter and the cockpit was, say, like this, with a circle in the middle, or let's see, maybe an octagon here, an octagon here, octagon in the middle, and octagon here, right? Or let's do just an octagonal shape that's like this, and we have a circle and maybe something like this. Let's try another one, something a little bit more iconic, maybe a let's try a triangle with a cut like this, triangle like a cut like that. Okay, say something like that. Variations. We could do this for quite a while. Now, would these have worked in the film? Possibly, because the silhouette is very strong, that the detail sometimes is not as important as the strength of the silhouette. So therefore, I go back to here, is that when you're designing, this makes things a little bit easier, because as long as you have a strong shape, your details, as long as you add it in a correct fashion. So you can't just randomly, of course, pull whatever detail you want. But if you make the details flow, makes it support the design, sometimes because the silhouette is so strong, it still works. And this works for a bunch of stuff in here as well. For example, if you look at, let's take, say, Lara Croft, right? So she could wear a variety of outfits, but her silhouette generally maintains quite strongly. The two guns on the side, the ponytail, and that's what defines her. That essentially you could change her clothes from a jacket to a tank top to a sportswear, whatever you're gonna put on her, even diving suit and stuff. The main silhouette of Lara Croft stays the same, and therefore your audience understands who she is just by looking at the silhouette of the character. But granted, there is a little caveat to this, right? It's strong, so therefore it makes it easier. But being in the entertainment industry, there's been a lot of great designs throughout the history of games and films. But the ones we remember are also part of IPs that are very strong. So even though you can have a really good design, really good silhouette, I think equally important is that the IP is attached to is just as good, because the ones I pointed here are coming from very iconic and very famous movies. So therefore, the fame of the film make the designs recognizable and memorable for even more people. So the combination of the two works, and I think that's why I think the movies like the original Star Wars did great in terms of bringing entertainment to so many people and influencing so many people's lives, because it is a great movie, and on top of that, it has really strong designs, and that you put together gets you this, right? So yeah, silhouettes, that's why we for a lot of our designers, we strive to try to achieve this. So every project we get on, we don't know when the next project is, we don't know how big it's going to get, but when designing for it, we try to implement and try to achieve what these things have done before us, which is like, can we get a strong shape, can we get something pretty neat, and hopefully the IP does well, and it will be a shape that goes down in history as something pretty cool. All right, so let's clear the board here. And let me give you a preview of what's gonna come in this episode, and I'm gonna be doing that in real time. Here is this one, something I've done for our students in the past, and I'll open up, and dude, check these out, man. Pretty cool looking things. So it is a variation of this. Let me close this one. Let me leave it open here for a second because I'm gonna need that for some notes here. Now I just lost my other one. All right, here it is. All right, let me take a sip of water in the meantime. All right, so here we have some ships, some spaceships, some towers of some kind, and some retro-looking robots. And they're also silhouettes, but the way they are generated is slightly different than a solid black. I used to use this method myself for quite a long time. Then I find that, you know what, we could spice it up a bit. The silhouette gives you a starting point. But what if we mix a little bit more into the silhouette to not only give us a starting point, but also starting to let our brain start to see shapes within it? Because this one, it's suggesting only an outline. What goes inside, we still have to work hard at it. But we could actually add a tiny bit more stuff into it. For example, we see here that it's giving you some shape solutions as you go, even though the shape that it comes from makes no sense. And we'll get to that, that's the sort of the core of this episode. If you zoom into this, you can actually see this is a soldier here holding an M4 gun of some kind, right? And that's what makes this up. But if you zoom out, you don't see him anymore. You just see the shape and some interesting forms that's going on. And that's really the power of this technique, is that once you start creating a strong silhouette, the subject matter that you're using, it doesn't come into play at all. They're purely there to serve as a form definition. And we'll get to that in a second here. So here's some towers, pretty cool looking, and they're made from just random stuff. Space shuttle parts. This looks like a car engine of some kind down here, right? And the point of all this is to get your brain going, get your creativity going. And you notice something about silhouettes, all these guys. And before I reveal to that what it is, let's do it on these guys over here. Let me get a new layer going and pick a nice bright red. We have all these silhouettes, and I think on this page, 99% of them, or at least I don't know how many do we have, 92%, I think, or something like that, share something in common. And let's see if you guys catch that, right? So I'm just gonna start putting these lines in, and you will see what the commonality is, all right? And you probably even start to guess by now, the common thread here with these red lines is almost everything created by man, as well as most stuff in nature, are symmetrical. You could cut down the middle somewhere and make it mirror itself, right? Here's Johnny number 5. Let me just do a few of these, right? Actually, Han Solo is the only one that's sort of not silhouetted. She's got this offset blaster, but if you take the blaster off, he's pretty silhouette. So let's just put him in here. Tinkerbell silhouette, Nemo is, so is Buzz, so is Woody, so is Simba, Pumbaa, and Timon, all these, Lara Croft, right? The alien. See, they're all symmetrical. Even Rocky, right? When he wears 2 gloves. Mickey, of course, Little Mermaid, all of them. So T-Rex. Did I forget anyone? X-Wing 5. Oh, I forgot this guy earlier. X-Wing, and E.T. and I think I left those guys out. All right. So you can see this red line is pretty much the center line. It's a division line that you could go left and right. Now, symmetry doesn't mean left and right. You could also work up and down. You could go front and back. Most products, for you guys sitting in front of your computer, just look what's on your desk. Your computer screen, I'm pretty sure is symmetrical. Your Wacom tablet, if you have one, is symmetrical. There's a few things that are not, is like your keyboard, for obvious reasons because of the keys, and your mouse, which is meant usually for a left or right hand, so that it's not symmetrical. But look around everything else. On my desk, I have, like, for example, this microphone recording is symmetrical. Some of the toys I have on here are symmetrical. All the screens, the cameras, the memory sticks, the hard drives, they're all symmetrical. So knowing that, we could then use that to our huge advantage in generating these guys, right? We could find some objects and simply mirror them to achieve a silhouette, and by doing so, you let your creativity really free flow. So instead of talking, let's do some of that. All right, let me leave that here open. All right, so this is what we're trying to get to, and let's play around with that. Here's a canvas that I have. It's a blank 5,000 by 5,000 pixel canvas. It's really big, and we're gonna generate a couple of silhouettes. Well, too bright. Let's darken that down. Let's do some spaceships. Let's do a few things, all right? So I'm gonna do some spaceships. Let's write that down. And we'll divide these into 2 categories. Let's do something like human-ish. All right, let's do like human-ish, and then we'll do like some alien-ish, just to show you the variation in technique I use when approaching subject matters, right? And let's do some robots, man. It's pretty fun. Some robots or droids or something like that. I'm not even exactly clear what difference are. So anyways, something like droids. R2D2 is a robot and C3PO is a droid, something like that. I think if you have like human characteristics is like a droid. I'm not too clear on that. Okay, next one, maybe we'll do some creatures or something. Creatures slash characters, for example. All right, so to do that, let's talk about the actual technique. I am gonna open up a random photo, say this guy right here. Okay, got a classic card. This image has nothing to do with what we're gonna generate. We're gonna do spaceships and robots and stuff, right? It's a classic card, nothing to do with it. The reason I'm gonna start from an image versus a pure black and white silhouette is that, look, you can use the same technique and just get almost another freebie design inspiration out of it. These photos, right, let me just show you, let me grab something. All right, so I'm just gonna make a silhouette of spaceship. Boink. I'm gonna grab that, put it in here, rotate it. All right, let me just make one first to show you what that looks like. Here's one. So you guys are probably hearing all my keyboard clicks and things like that, so that I cannot prevent since it's real time. I can't get rid of the sounds. All right, here's that. Let's put one more maybe here. Oh man, look at that. It's pretty cool looking. All right, so the advantage of this technique versus, say, working pure black is that because we're using a photograph or something with a lot of noise, you can actually use a variety of things, as long as it has noises inside, that it generates shapes and forms within the silhouette. So not only are you playing with a strong shape, you're also getting some freebies, like your eye will interpret these things differently. And that's going to help you design, because when I see, for example, this little area here, that could be a cockpit, even though it's a negative space, or maybe that's the cockpit. And these forms that's going on here, like all these gold random things that's coming from the photo, you can interpret that how you want, and that's just going to give you one additional way of thinking versus, for example, if I just leave it like this, which works well, right? Look how cool that is. It works really well. But when in the process of design, sometimes you really want some aid in terms of just getting your brain and the thinking part going. And for me, I just find this to be super helpful. It gives me all these in and outs of form, like you can almost touch this shape and feel that your hand is going up and down throughout the design, right? Versus, for example, here, it's flat. And especially for someone who is learning, when you have this, sometimes we see our students having a hard time translating this into an actual viable design because they see a cool form, but when they start translating, the shapes they're putting inside just random, you know, for example, because even though I mentioned earlier, the details is not as important if you have a strong silhouette. You can't do random details either, because then it just makes your form get completely messy. So this method here gives you some control. So let's do a few more. So let's go. I'll continue using this guy. Let's do some humanish spaceships. So I'm gonna kind of lasso just a side or top view design. Oh, look at that guy. Pretty sweet looking. All right, let me mirror that guy. Look at that. This guy looks very Terran-like, very Earth. All right, I'm gonna give it an engine. So maybe for the Terrans, I'm gonna go for like symmetry. So you got left, right engine designs. Let's see if this guy look good. Oh yeah, and look, I'm cloning from within itself too. Kind of just repeating these forms over and over again. Let's put it here. Look at that guy. Let's give him some guns. Boop. That's too big. Shrink it down a bit. Put it here. Put it here. That's good enough. Let's collapse all these guys and shrink these guys down to about the same size. All right, so we got two. Let's keep going. Let's use a different photo. We don't have to use the same one. Just use. But it doesn't really matter actually. Let's use this guy here. All right. Let's mess with something a little bit more drastic in terms of silhouette. Right. I'm almost doing this at random in a way because that's all part of the process, especially for this type of design. Now, whoa, why so big? Shrink that down. All right. Now, this method doesn't work for everything, obviously. You know, it doesn't work if you're designing, for example, like you need to do a prop, like a briefcase bomb or something, you know, these kind of things. It doesn't really work well because in that case, the design is such a locked asset that generating this actually kind of going against you're making your job harder. But it does work for generating in the beginning, say in this case, spaceships where you want some creatures, things that are a little bit more in terms of its form, not as defined, I guess is the best way to do it. So you're talking about heavy sci-fi or maybe even some kind of fantasy things could use this technique. And later when you get to robots, you'll see it's quite neat. Yeah? So let me just generate a few more. That guy's pretty cool. And you can see how important or such a cool way that the forms from the photo is helping us define things, right? Just seeing all sorts of stuff going in and out. Let's do a few more. I have all these triangle ones. Let's do some that are like not pointy. Let's do some squarish looking ones. Let's check the time here and make sure I don't run too far. This episode will probably run a little bit longer because we are real time here. There's no fast forward. I know some of you guys have requested some real time stuff, so here you go. Whoa, this guy's pretty mean looking. And you could do a ton of these because this method is quite easy to do. I'm gonna erase some, right? As well as I don't like that shape, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Why not? I'm gonna give it a point as well. This guy's pretty cool. Let's rotate this way. Look at that, it kind of has a cool cockpit right there. Very aggressive looking spaceship. Let's keep the spaceships on this side. All right, let's do another photo. Let's do something even, let's not even use cars, let's use something else. I don't know, trains or something, airplanes. Right. Doesn't matter, again, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. You're just looking for noise. But sometimes the noise, I do try to match it to sort of the feeling I want. So for example, a train is very, very dense in the track areas here. So if I want something that has a lot of density, maybe I will start with this guy. So I'm just gonna blast a bunch of stuff. You can see here. This guy's gonna look pretty cool, I think. Boom, boom, boom. Right now it's like, what the heck? But now look, see, getting something pretty cool. This one almost could belong to the alien side, I think. Let's give it some cool rotation. Let's put it here. Maybe not. This one doesn't match. It's too much stuff going on. So this also, you can't just randomly do this as well, but you started pretty chaotically, and then you are still applying a certain design common sense to it, right? You don't want something super silly. You're still looking for some kind of goal to reach. So I'm adjusting the forms as I go here. This one almost looks like a robot or something like that. All right. This one let's put here. All right, let's generate another one. Let's do something with a really different shape. All right, so this one should be quite different. And because you generate so many of these, you're not going to use all of them, right? We're going to use the ones we find that are cool. Oh man, look at this, pretty neat. Let's put another one in here. And I'm actually doing this in a quick way. You can actually introduce the other forms into this one. For example, I could pull this dude and put it in here, right? Just start to combine. You can actually make more. So let's do it like that. And there you go. Got something kind of, whoa, I merged too many things together. There we go. Put that over here. And we get this guy. Let's do a few more. This train is generating some pretty cool stuff. Let's do some other ones that has that kind of similar wing design. Boom, 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 boom. Bloop. Copy and paste. Oh, so big. Shrink. Bloop. Here. So neat looking, some of this stuff. And really when you start this, you have no idea what you're gonna get, and that's part of the fun, right? And I mean, the past episodes I mentioned before, like, you have to really find the enjoyment in this business, because if you're really serious about doing this for a living, you'll be doing this for years and years and years. I'm talking about 20, 30 years, and maybe even more longer than that, right? A long time in this business, and you'll be designing all the time, right? And you have to make sure you find different ways to get to your results. And messing with different approaches is part of that. Is that it lets your pipeline be a little bit more random, right? So you're not coming in every day and just using the same method over and over and over. This allows yourself to just enjoy the process by switching it up all the time. So here's one more. This one's actually has a red star on it. This is kind of cool actually. Oh, it looks like a spider. Let's see. Ooh, that's aggressive looking. I almost want to pull this guy over here or something. Let's combine it with this guy over here. I'm gonna borrow that shape over here and put it over here. Almost need something like this, and we'll make that reddish to match the color palette. Oops, Wrong button. Saturate. Doesn't really matter actually, but I'm just going to make it kind of match a little bit just to make it look kind of cool. Oops, merged the wrong ones. There you go. The series looking pretty cool. Let's do a few more. Let's do a few more, then we'll move on to like some robots and stuff because I'm mindful of the time. And you guys, yeah, go ahead and follow along and try this. Grab some random images that has a lot of noise in it. Let's grab something else like farm equipment or something. These are too small to grab stuff from. I do need a certain resolution in order to. Oh, look at these. This is gonna give me some great alien designs. I need some resolutions to generate enough forms that's inside. So this one, I'm gonna do like alien spaceships. Boink. This is almost like crazy wild right here. Oh, that's pretty cool though. Almost looks like an insect as well. Let's go down here. Maybe the aliens have a shape that does something like this. Let's see. Boop, boop. Let's see. This one, I'll do another nose version, and then we'll do some. This one looks like a bug, but we can use that. Like looks like a creature from top view. Right? Let's use this again. I really like the silhouette. Let's make it more spaceship looking. Okay, copy and paste. Now even the color, it gives you ideas. Like, I want to be cool if we make a spaceship that's colored like this, you know, like almost golden, made out of Renaissance kind of sculpting look. It's kind of cool. This one, I think I could generate some baby ones off to the side. Let's do it this way. Do like that. And do one in the middle. Let's make it super long. See, it's all free form. I mean, you have Photoshop, which is actually extremely good for this type of stuff. It's actually made for doing things like that. It's a photo manipulation tool. So when you're just using it for generating these type of things, it's extremely fun. Look at all these kind of fun things we generated. And not only can they be spaceships, actually just looking at it, it could be like shields. It could be, again, a creature's top view design. It could be a prop. Some of these are actually starting to look like robots themselves. Let's generate just a few more, and then we'll move on to like another subject. Look at this thing. Oh, it's kind of blurry. Let's get a sharper one. What's something? This one looks like it's got some fun form. Pretty small image, but let's try. And the way I'm silhouetting, even though it's a little bit random, it is still my own design language, right? Because at being a designer, you always have a little bit of a language that you like. So when you guys try this method, it could be what your taste is like when you're silhouetting. And I'm just using the lasso tool to do that as well. Look at this guy, it's like a heavy fighter. This one doesn't look so good. It looks kind of, it's like a actually retro robot. Doesn't look so good, nuke it. You don't have to keep this stuff around. It takes like a few seconds to make one anyway, so it's not like you're losing out on anything when you nuke one of these images. Let's look at another image. Let's look at Land Rovers. I don't know, airplanes. let's get something from our cockpit. All right, dude. This one should generate some pretty neat looking things here. Boom, boom. Oh yeah. Oh, let's make this one like almost like an octopus or something. Like it's going, yeah, like a squid-like design. Something like that. Let's move this down. Make a little cockpit here. Oh, look at that guy. That guy's pretty neat looking. Let's use that little 3 prongs to generate like a little fin thing on the side here. Let's delete half of it out. Right. So you can actually fine tune these. Right now I'm actually using just a very simple method, but you could go in and do what I just did here, which is fine tuning the silhouette. You don't have to stick with the same thing over and over. Right. Let's mess with that. And this guy is pretty neat. All right, so let's do some, what's next? Let's do some robots, man. So let's draw, let me merge all these dudes. I don't need these guys to be all on a separate layer, so let me just merge them. All right, good, they're on a layer. So that I could draw a little bit of a division line here. All right, so spaceships on that side. Let's do some robots and creatures and things like that on the other side. Actually, let me do a quick save with the recording just in case it crashes. We don't lose all this real-time stuff, right? So let me be right back. All right, I am back, and part 1 didn't crash, so that's good. So now we have another half an hour to go, and part of that is let's finish the creature and character and maybe robot type stuff, and then also show you guys how to convert these silhouettes into something that's more viable. At least the beginning of that. I don't think I have time to finish the entire drawing in this episode, not in real time that is, and but I'll show you how to convert it, because these silhouettes you can't really show your clients. They'll look at this and go, what in the world am I looking at? A bunch of junk essentially, right? Because this is for designers. We understand what this is, but obviously for a client, they simply cannot, I think, dictate what these could possibly be. Maybe art directors can, but definitely not your producer types and stuff like that. I mean, that is not even professional as well to showcase this early stage of design. Let's refine that a little bit. All right, so we have some human-ish looking thing. This thing almost looked Batman-ish or something like that. Quite cool. And we got some alien things. Let's generate some robots first. Some maybe 1950s style retro robots. Let's use a different starting thing. Let's see. Let's go to this dude. This guy with a gun or something. Actually, I want to generate maybe one more spaceship with this. Let's see. Something alien-like. Right. Make sound effects, do all that kind of stuff, whatever helps you think in design. I don't like that part. Get rid of it. Ooh, this guy's pretty cool. Copy and paste that. Don't need this part. Let's get rid of that. Flip it. Oops, not the canvas. Flip the detail. It's really fun. It's almost like you're back to like 7-year-old kid or something, just playing with toys essentially. All right, let's put this guy down here. All right, let's do some robots, and we could probably use this one to do the droids as well. So now I'm gonna start drawing some front views, you know, of little robot guys, little arms and stuff. All right, number 1. Boink. For the droid, I think I need something a little bit more complicated. This is not giving me the cool forms, although it kind of works. It kind of works. All right, I'm gonna steal from itself a couple arm designs. So I'm gonna do that and just no, maybe leg design. Maybe here. One here. Right. Making sound effects helps a lot when you're, especially when you're by yourself designing things. It's like you gotta keep yourself entertained, you know. That doesn't look so good. Put that there. Right. It's kind of cool. A starting point, at least. Let me merge the spaceships together first. All right. So the spaceship. Let me just check my layers. All right. Those guys are merged. Here's our robot guys. So I'm gonna get something a little bit more dense for my robots. Let's try. Let's see. Something that kind of dense and mechanical. This is good. This is kind of cool. Let's try another robot. Try to create a cool silhouette. Little hand, little waist. He doesn't have legs yet. We'll put the leg back in a second here. Oh, look at that. He's got a pretty cool looking upper torso. Let's use this to generate the rest of them. Get rid of that. So I'm tweaking this design as I go here, right? I'm not sticking to exactly what the image is giving me. I need this to give me certain solutions, and I could tweak it to give me that. Oops. Right, for example, generating his legs. Right. And this guy's gonna look pretty stiff because we are dealing with the perfect front view, so obviously they're not gonna be posed or anything like that, but that doesn't matter. Right now we're looking for the silhouette. Let's see here. Let me merge this guy. Let me do some layer management here so we don't confuse ourselves. I need a leg out of his own body. Something like that. This guy's looking more like a suit of armor. It's kind of cool. We'll leave him over here. Let's do some more. I need something even more noisy than that. Let's go back to trains. Trains was pretty cool. It has some really nice parts inside them. So let's see. Okay, let's do another joint. Big old guy. Boom, 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 boom. Copy that. See what we got. Boom. Pretty neat. This guy looks like a boxing robot or something like that. Let's put him over here. Let's give him some little hands. Let's give him some legs. It's copying from within self. Boink, boink. Alright, his hands look kind of funky. Let's change that a little bit. Makes it look like he's got a droopy arm. Let's make it more like that. Like that. And connect that back. And there you go. Alright, let's do a few more. Let's get different terrain. Something with a lot of noise. So this, look at this guy. He's got like all this rusty stuff on here. Let's do a really retro one. Let's do like Will Roger in a 1950s style. Bloop, bloop. Okay. No idea what this is gonna give us, but that's sort of the point. You play around with this kind of stuff. All right, look at that. It's got a bloop. I'm gonna generate some arms within himself. It's like Danger Will Robinson. Looks kind of silly. Okay, let's generate like a little leg. That's pretty cool, actually. Very old school. Talking about the same size. I think he needs like a face. Let's get a face from somewhere else. So give him a little bit of coloration. Let's get it from maybe. Put that in. Oh, this one's too light. Let's get it from his neighbor. Let's get it from this dude. Put that on top of this guy. Shrink it down a bit. Play with the shape. Ah, perfect. And here's our 1950s looking retro bot. Let's do another one of these retro bots. Kind of cool looking. Boom, boom, boop. So like that. Let's give it like some funky arms. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, this guy's pretty neat looking. Excuse me. I'm gonna darken him down a bit, just to distinguish him from the guy next to him. Oh, it's pretty neat. Let's see. Wide, short. Let's see. This looks pretty cool. Let's do that. Let's give him a. He needs almost like a red eye. I'm gonna hijack it from this guy here, which has some red in it. Let's see. Go back to my spaceship. It just feels like he needs some red in the design. Mirror that. Flip it. There we go. It's pretty cool looking. Okay, let's put him up here. Let's see what we have. 8 minutes in. All right, let's do a few more. I'm keeping an eye on our time here. I don't want to bore you guys to death with this kind of stuff. So, but in the meantime, you could just follow along. You know, pull up some images and give it a try. Look at this bunch of wheels. This should give us some interesting noise. Let's generate another retro bot. Maybe like a funky head, little neck. Maybe this goes on threads of some kind, little arm attachments. Let's see what that does. Whoa, it's crazy looking. Let's see. I like this guy right here, the super retro looking one. All right, let's see. Ooh, funky. Funky. He needs to be a little bit dark, I think, to pull out a silhouette. He needs maybe a little arm. This actually looks like Wally, like a funky version of him. Okay. Here, that'll change him up a bit. Let's take some stuff from his body. All right, our little robot. Let's generate some monsters down here. So we got spaceships, we got some droids. Let's generate, this guy's actually kind of cool now. Let's generate some monster stuff. So let's draw a division line. So this one, these are all spaceships, these are robots. Down here, we'll do some creatures. All right, so for creatures, let's start with creature-ish noise. Yeah, remember, it's not the photograph. The photo doesn't really matter in terms of subject of the photo, but we could actually change the noise. So I'm gonna go to, say, big mammals or something, and just find some interesting noise. Like the iguana, for example, has really nice noises. So I'm gonna generate a front view of a creature, for example. This could be front view, this could be top view, right? This is sort of up to you and what exactly you're doing and how you want to use this method. It doesn't really matter, just play around with it. So right now this could be, for example, the top view of a, it's starting to look like a fish. I don't know, let's copy and paste and see what it looks like. Could be a spaceship too, and that's the beauty of silhouettes. Like, it could be a lot of things. It's just, what do you see out of it, right? Look at this. This could be a cool looking creature from above, like a funky squid. I think that's kind of cool. With a single eye in the middle. Let's put an eyeball in there. Let's use this guy's eye. Alright, there's our funky creature. Alright, let's do another one. Let's use, let's see, like rhino skin or something. Let's see, let's do one that's more front view looking. Boom. Little hands. Maybe it's got some wings or something. Copy that. No idea what's gonna give us, but look at that. It's kind of neat. Stretch it out a bit. So him. His little leg don't look so good, so I'm gonna recarve that again. And I'm also gonna add into a little bit by taking part of this. Just put it into here, just to make that a little bit more of a leg-like thing, right? Remember, this is your design, this is you messing around. So if you want to make adjustments while you're doing this, it's totally fine. It's not hard, nothing's set in stone. All right, another one, kind of a funky, something funky, right? Let's try that. This rhino skin is pretty nice. Let's try one more creature design with this. Let's do bloop. Bloop. No details. And this stuff is just no idea what you're gonna get when I'm after I copy and paste this stuff. So here's this one. Has some really crazy stuff going on for it, but I can already see this could be pretty neat looking. Oh, look at that funky creature. The top is crazy. Let's fix that up a bit. Just erasing that stuff out. It needs a head. Let's get a head from itself. Something like that, right? So we are looking at front view, so you're gonna have to retranslate this. Obviously, for a creature, you're gonna have to see what it looks like in 3-point perspective. So let's grab what else we have here. Let's look at some creatures. Let's look at reptile. We just did reptiles. Let's look at insects, for example. Insects, and let's grab some materials from that. Look, this is kind of nasty. Let's do a top view again. Maybe another. We'll do a bug. Let's do a bug. Copy, paste. This is a top view of something. Boink, boink. Look at that, it's pretty neat looking. These bugs are pretty cool. Let's do another one. These are pretty fun. Get it from, let's see. I thought more bugs. Let's see, cockroach. Let's see. It's pretty neat. A weta. Let's do a top view looking thing. Although this one's a little bit too literal, I'm actually kind of using where the bodies are. So let's not do that. I don't want to set example of, oh, you start to using the photo to do the design. It's like, I want to make sure that it has nothing to do with the subject, nothing to do with the design. So if I'm doing a bug, maybe we'll go to something that's completely different. But I do want organic patterns. That's important since it is a living thing I'm trying to design. So let's go to, for example, a tropical fish or something to get some of the noise. Okay, so let's, like, for example, this squid looking. Oh, this one has black on it, which I don't want. I want patterns. Okay, here we go. This is good. So let's do a like insect design off of that. Little hand or legs. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Antenna. Copy, paste. And this one I'm gonna darken up a bit so you can see. Mirror. And you can see we get a really fantastic, funky design here. We have room for a few more. Let's get it from this guy. Look at this guy. It's pretty cool. Boink. Little legs. Copy, paste. And these are the methods you use, especially when you get onto a project that's very open in the beginning, and you have a client, for example, looking for just interesting designs for, you know, subjects like spaceships and buildings, architecture. This is one of the methods you could use to help you get started, right? So like I mentioned a few minutes ago about getting stuck in a certain type of approach, that if you always start, for example, with a pen and a paper, that's great. That is one of the methods, but this allows you to open up your creativity into exploring other ways to get to a design, because ultimately you're looking for an idea. Hey, this is the fish I used a few episodes again, but ultimately it's about the idea. Now, how you get to the idea, it's not limited to a single creative method, right? And you want all these tools in your belt when you get into a studio or get onto a professional job, allow you to explore differently. And really, for a designer, that's so important, so you don't start doing the same thing over and over and over again. All right, here's this one's really cool. I ran out of space, so I'm gonna put it on the spaceship side, which actually could be a spaceship as well. They're very related, a lot of these things. Spaceships, creatures, right? They share strong silhouettes. All right, actually, there's something you could do with this one, which I didn't even show you guys, which is you could do repetitive forms. Let me show you that real quick. For example, I take this and I put it in here. Okay. You don't have to use it purely as one object. You could actually do this and clone itself. For example, that, and generate stuff this way as well. See? This gets into something else, which maybe I'll save it for a different episode, which is repetitive forms. Repetitive forms is something that human beings like to see. It's very comforting to the eyes. So sci-fi films has used that a lot, especially if you look at corridors and stuff like that in sci-fi movies, like a hallway. It's like a certain segment and they just repeat it over and over again. But it looks really neat when you see that. So it's a little bit of human nature, I think, to see a form being repeated, a pattern. I think human beings have a natural ability to recognize patterns. So we could use that to our advantage in design, which is take something and just repeat it a bunch of times. So maybe we'll cover that in another episode, but I'm showing a little bit of that here, in which I just repeated a bunch of times and it looks neat, right? And then on top of that, we put another human characteristic, which is symmetry. So we put repetitive forms and symmetry, and the result is that guy right there. Let's just do one more symmetry, repetitive form symmetry thing. Let's do it with, let's do it with this guy here. Poor little fish. All right, let's see, creatures, still creatures, spaceship thing. Okay, copy. I ran out of space. What else do I have? Okay, I have a little bit in this corner here. Just take that, and then we're gonna clone it. Clone it again. So it just keeps repeating. Clone it one more time. Copy and paste those. And mirror. Oh, look at that. It's a crazy looking creature. Where should I put him? Let's just put him right here. And then you can even add on top of that, like, oh man, this guy could look really cool with some wings or something. So let's see, let's just grab it from here. A little hard to see. Let me darken that in. Oops, wrong button. Shrink it down a bit. And put it to the other side. Collapse those guys together, and there you go. Wish I could put him somewhere. I don't have space for him. Let's see. I'll just put him here for now with the top of the red lines. All right, so we have all these silhouettes, and we don't need to use all of them, right? We have a lot, but we generated all these in a fair amount or a quick amount of time. Let me adjust my seat a second here. So now it's up to you to go, okay, which one do you like? Which one's cool? Which one can we actually convert into something that's viable? Right now I'm looking at this, go, man, this Batmobile looking thing is pretty cool. I really like this guy over here, for example. It's quite neat. This guy is really fun looking. I like the retro bot. This retro bot's pretty cool. Some of these creatures are pretty neat, especially the one I just did here. I really like whatever is going on over here. Quite cool of a shape. So let's go on to the next phase. So let me stop the recording real quick so I can save this segment, and we'll come back and take one of these silhouettes and show you just really quickly how we can convert that. Okay. All right, let's get out of this mode and let me do a quick save, and I'll be right back. All right, we are back for the last segment of this episode. So we covered number 1, which is the importance of silhouettes, this kind of stuff here. Number 2, how to use a alternate method to generate them and have some fun in the process. And 3 now is how do you actually use this, right? Because right now this is, again, what the heck are we looking at, except for designers and art directors. Most people look at this in just like its random forms, right? So let's translate that to something viable. Let's take the one I like. Let me merge all my thumbnails real quick so everybody's on the same. 1 second here. All right, they're all merged. Let's merge everybody. All right, take the red lines away. Let's take this bat wing looking thing, for example. I'll show you a really fun fun technique you could do with this. So I'm gonna copy that onto another canvas. Let's do a let's make things easy. Let's do 5,000 by 5,000. So it's nice and big. Paper is free in Photoshop, right? So you can make a big canvas and just start working on it. You don't need to save cost of paper. So make a big canvas. All right, so here's that guy I like. Let's get another design here that I think I like. I like where this is going. It's almost like a creature. This spaceship is quite neat. This one almost like a 50s look to it, which I like. Let's grab these. I like these red ones. They look very 1950s retro. Oops. Go here. So there's that guy. And let's grab maybe even a robot. Well, let's do these first because I don't know how much time I have. Let's do number 1. All right, so here's the fun thing to do with this. So once you have this, let's make a clone of it so we don't mess up the original. Let's put it over here. Make a clone. Photoshop has this great thing called Skew, which is right there, right under edit. So I'm just gonna skew that, and you can actually throw that. Oops, wrong one. Skew. You can actually throw that into perspective. So if this is a spaceship and we did a top view, well, we could convert it into a perspective sketch, like so. And the angle is up to you how you want to control it. So I'm gonna make this a little bit more like coming towards camera. And right now it is flat, but we're gonna use our drawing skills to get it so it doesn't look flat, right? So that's one. I'm gonna res it up a bit. So this original, here's the one that's been converted. Let's throw the original one away for now. Since we have a copy of it here, let's do the other funky one, which is over here, and use the same method, skew. Oops, skew. All right. I wish there was a way to save the skew factor, you know, so you could just repeat the same exact method or the same perspective, but we have to do this by hand. So here's this, boom, boom, boom. This one has a really nice nose, so let's make that a little bit easier to see. All right, so there's perspective number 2. Let's make that a little bit bigger. And look, it already looks kind of cool. They're already kind of sitting in perspective as they are. All right, let's just draw these guys out real quick. So Now I'm gonna do this really fast, so the quality of this line sketch is not gonna be ideal, but hopefully it'll get you enough to see what we're trying to do here. So right now you can keep the color around if you want, or you can just completely get rid of it and convert it into black and white, depending on how you like to sketch. But basically we're gonna draw on top of this, right? We created this silhouette. We have now skewed it into perspective. Now here's the interpretation part. Let me just convert this to black and white. Even though the red is really neat. For now, I'm gonna do it black and white, and I'm gonna lower its opacity. So we're down to this here. Okay. The next part, of course, requires a good sense of drawing, right? Some drawing skills, some knowledge and perspective, and those type of things. And the interpretation now comes in, because what these details are, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, that's up to you to decide. What do you see in yourself in terms of the kind of detail that goes inside this spacecraft? But because you have a strong base to start with, well, you can play around with that a little bit. So I'm just gonna quickly sketch this out and interpret this like how I'll see it. All right, so I could see the cockpit, for example, being somewhere over here. I'm gonna use this method, like do this. I'm gonna lower the opacity way down, so that way you guys can see the design on top, right? Yeah, I'm sketching really fast here just to get a rough idea going so you guys can see it. Draw through. This looks like a gun to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and convert that to a weapon. Use some line weight here. It's a really cool part right here. Let's convert that. Using a 3/4 view, this is what we commonly refers to as a product view. So it's a very common way of showing concept art, because it allows the 3D artist, the 3D modeler who might be building this stuff, to see it in top, side, and front. So it gives them a lot of information. So that's why we call it the product view. That with this single drawing, you should be able to model from it. So this will be like my alien once. This doesn't look so earthy. It's a great design right here. The silhouette that we got for free, which is this nice ring. Let's bump it up a bit. So mind the sketch is a very loose first pass design here. All right, so here's the cockpit. So let's not make it too Batmobile now, so otherwise it's starting to look, because this has a very, like, I think the very early version of a Batmobile in the early 90s film, it has some forms like this, so I don't want to get close to that design. So let's use a ball cockpit. Draw through. Kind of like a circle cockpit. Check the time. All right, we're still good. This episode is going to run hopefully not too much over an hour period. But the amount of time I spent in real time in class, sometimes anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours doing this kind of stuff. So it gives me enough to, and you can see in real time, we can actually finish something in that amount of time. So right now I don't want to bore you guys too much with a 2-3 hour episode. I think that's a little long. We'll just continue it in the following one if you find this stuff interesting. All right, here's this. Let's go. The tail is where it looks like a Batmobile, so I'm just gonna convert that a little bit so it's the design's a little bit different. Whoa, what did I do? Wrong brush. Because what I see, what those spikes in the end is little blades like that. And you can see it's so fun, this method. It's like sometimes you draw, you sketch, you're doodling in your sketchbook, you're just getting nothing fun, or you're seeing like, oh man, I'm drawing the same shape over and over again. I need some kind of inspiration injection, you know. And this is one of those things you could do. Is like, you know what, I haven't used the silhouette method in a while. Let's give that a try, and that could really spark your creativity and go get right back into work, right? because like last episode I mentioned about procrastination and stuff. For me, when I was younger, it's always like, I need inspiration, time to play video games, or I need inspiration, time to go and do something else, and essentially it equals wasting time for a lot of that kind of stuff. Instead, you just switch your method a bit. I find that to be way more useful, because instead of going off and doing something that's not benefiting your project and adding more stress onto it because you didn't work on the project at all, you're procrastinating, using it as an excuse to quote unquote inspire you. You actually sometimes can harm your own project, because the time you spend doing whatever that inspiration is, you have then lost for the project itself. So what I do is sometimes change the method. By changing the method, you might get the solution instantly or much faster, and then get right back into design or into work. All right, so here's the Batmobile thing. Let's make it so we're not so Batman-ish. Correct the perspective, because now we're drawing in 3D. Let's do an intake here. Go across. Intake on the other side. So this still needs to be corrected or fixed in perspective. Right now it's kind of eyeball-y, but I just want to design down first, right? We don't want to get in the way. Design first, art second. So we want to just get our ideas down. Trying to keep the perspective as best as I can here, but it's not a major thing. So because we could fix that later by putting a little bit of grid system in there and just kind of reverse engineer the 2 point. Okay. Let's do this outer wing. I'm gonna flip my canvas to do that. I flip it, I think I mentioned it before. I flipped this canvas, one, just to see the symmetry of it. Two, it's my brush that I use is a calligraphy brush, which looks good. It's going in a certain direction. So for this long curve to look kind of nice, like that line right here, I have to flip my canvas. Otherwise it looks too thick. Okay, that's good. This will be a negative hole right here. So I'm gonna put a little line weight on it so you can see. Little engine exhaust back here. Let's do some cool shapes right here. Some kind of anti-gravity pad or something, right? Look how fun this process is. When we started this, no idea what we're gonna get, and now by the end of the hour we have some interesting design solutions. So by the way, I'm still drawing this in real time, so it's not fast forward. So right now I'm just talking and drawing at the same time. All right, this one I have to flip again to get to the other side. And we have division line. Let's see, we have one there. And for those starting out, this method, give it a try. But the drawing part, of course, is still hard. I think this method benefits both of you who are starting out, and also if you're working in the industry, this could also be beneficial for idea generation. Right? So for those starting out, I think this is a nice method to see how you can generate forms, but you still gotta, of course, work on your drawing techniques. But yeah, if you already are in the business and drawing quite well, then this becomes a pure design exercise in which you could just on a project for 6 months or a year or something, you're like, oh man, I can't come up with anything new anymore. Trust me, I know how that feels. Sometimes you're on a project, in the beginning it's really motivative, right? For the first 6 months, you're like, dude, this is every day you're just generating, and then after a year on the project, you still got a bunch of stuff left to do. You want to get something fresh going in there, but you don't want to repeat the same thing over and over again. So sometimes trying a method like this just kind of breaks up the sameness. All right. This one's almost good. Let's put a little antenna. So look how cool the silhouette, how much it helped us. Okay, flip again. Time check. All right, we're gonna definitely run over an hour here. Hopefully you guys don't mind. Just need some line weight. because now I'm trying to show you something like this sketch right now. If I clean it up, which will take about another half an hour or so, I think, to clean up something like this. Now you are talking about a presentable design. So if you think about the total creative time use, is actually very fast. We start in the morning, silhouette a bunch of stuff in an hour. You probably end up with maybe 10 to 15, maybe even 20 silhouettes in about an hour's time. And then you take that and you have the rest of the day, 7 hours or so, to draw at least you probably put 7, 8 of these kind of things if you're fast at it. And so at the end of the day, for your dailies or whatever meetings you guys have in the studio, you have a bunch of stuff to show, and hopefully they're not only cool designs, they're also executed well. Then you win. You know, get your art director back. Oh, that's cool. All right, here's one. Let's do it to this guy as well, so you can see that one. If I take the original off, that's the design right there. Let's do it to this dude right here. So I apologize, it's gonna run a little long here this episode, but I think it's interesting for you guys to see how this stuff works. All right, so this one, I'm gonna find center. Center is there, center is here. So I'm gonna use that to draw myself a center line. Rotate the canvas a bit. I roughly draw it in. Okay, that's gonna give me my perspective. And we use that. So I do the similar language as this one here. They're part of the same class of spaceship, or same race, right? Whatever this alien race is, they're part of the same. So we'll use the same design language for both. I'm gonna increase the size a bit. Let's make it about that big. Okay. So this one's got a very different front design. Let's figure out what that is. Draw this, draw that in, draw this, put some weapons here, put some weapons over here. Let's see here. This will be like a long gun of some kind. The noise you just heard is my dog exiting my office and creaking the door. Okay. I'm pretty sure the headphone picked that up. Okay, with the mic. Okay, so trying to draw as fast as I can here, so you guys don't get bored. Okay, I want to record this part actually pre-recorded and have fast forward, but since we did the entire episode without fast forward, I just thought, okay, let's just continue it, so you guys can also see the kind of speed I generally work in without fast forward, which is a lot slower. Okay. Kind of cool looking weapon. Let's do some line weight. So there's all these little fun parts that's part of silhouette. I don't want to lose that. That's sort of why the silhouette was so neat in the first place. So I'm gonna generate that. Other side. Right, there's a little fin right here, so we can actually put that in. And these are things that if I was just sketching on my own, right? Again, the benefit of sometimes working this method is if I was sketching on my own, I don't think I ever have drawn things like this. It just wouldn't come to my imagination. So like having a little fin right here, but yet it's so neat as a design solution. And that's where this, I'm gonna make it a little flatter, where this method comes in, and super beneficial. Okay. Little fin on the other side. Same kind of ball cockpit. Maybe for this one, we'll give it a co-pilot back here somewhere. I love that the Russian Hind and even the Apache designs where you have the navigator and the gunner, or the pilot and the navigator, kind of sharing a little dual cockpit kind of thing. Love that kind of stuff. This one maybe we'll give it a 3-prong, you know, 2 guys facing the top front. Let's see. So this is cockpit number 1. This is cockpit number 2. This would be like the gunner. Okay, let's see. And then as we go back here, let's make this a little more of a circle. Let's make this into a circle. There's some really nice details on the silhouette there that I want to capture, except I'm just raising it up into perspective. So that comes in. see these like 3 little patterns on the floor there, or on the original silhouette. I'm gonna actually capture that in 3D. And then I'm gonna put another cockpit back here. Let's flip this back. So yeah, so this method, great for this kind of stuff, doesn't work for everything. So you can't apply this to like if you're designing like an office for a say a bad guy in a video game or something. It's like a James Bond villain and needs an office. This method probably isn't the best. You could probably try with it, but it won't really, I think, solve some of the designs you're gonna face. So it's really good for when you get onto a project like Dark Souls or something. You have to do some monster designs, or you get onto say a sci-fi spaceship project like Mass Effect or something. Then you could try this kind of method to generate, because in those kind of IPs you have a lot more freedom in terms of the shape solutions. When you're dealing with real world, I guess that's the best way to put it, real world stuff, this method is a little bit harder to use. Depending on subject matter, you can use this for generating, for example, t-shirt design, or even armor plating for, like, for example, a slightly futuristic police officer or something like that, and he needs a actually I'll let this tail in here to change real quick. He needs armor design, so you can actually use this to generate that. Or for example, a shield works well with this method, but certain things doesn't apply. And that's the whole point of having a tool belt. It's just the same thing as when in the garage, and you have screwdrivers and drill bits and all that, and they're all used for certain things depending on what you're trying to do. So they're just as good on their own, but you combine them to do the job at hand. So sometimes sketching works, sometimes paintings work, sometimes silhouettes work, sometimes a straight up 3D blocking works. All these kind of things come in. There is really no one way to do this. All right. Weapon. Make noises, be yourself, totally have fun. So I think whenever I mention those kind of things, a lot of you guys, especially starting out, find that to be quite beneficial, to just kind of be human about it. You know, this business, I know that E3 just passed. You probably guys saw all these cool games and trailers and stuff, and if you're not in the business, you might think, oh man, no, one day that stuff is so far away to work on a project of that scale and that caliber. But really, when it comes down to it, they're just made by people like you out there, right? Just work hard at it, and you have to have fun with it, and those dreams are not impossible to achieve. You could one day work on those games and films as well. They're all built by people. There's no magic behind these studios, right? It's people who are very talented, very hardworking, doing it for years and years and years, and then what you see is the fruit of that labor. So to get into this business, you have to really just enjoy the process, because the more you have fun with it and less about like, oh man, I'm not good and there's no way I'll ever get to work on, you know, Fall 5 or whatever the next one will be after the 4-1, or the next you know, I don't know, Assassin's Creed and all these kind of things they're showcasing at E3. It's completely doable, you know, and you don't stress about the fact that you're not good. Instead, you gotta just, okay, what's the first step I want to do? Let's draw. What's the second step? Let's draw that even more. Maybe now I'm gonna learn some painting stuff, and do that and find enjoyment in the process. Don't let it stress out. Don't let other people stress you out, or even care about what other people say, do, and don't compare yourself to other people. The more you do this kind of stuff, you naturally sometimes get into the business, because instead of focusing on things that are not important at all, you focus on things that are, which is improving your design and drawing skills, and you take it one step at a time. All right, let's do this. Almost done here. All right, just the other side, and we wrap this sucker up. So this, I'm gonna flip it just to capture the weapon design on the other side. Clone that a little bit. It's got a little fin right here. Okay, almost done. Draw the part. This part's not so important because it's a mirror. Let's do some line weight here. Rough those in. Let's get this hard center line. Okay, let's put a little speed instruments to indicate how fast they're going and stuff. They're like Earth designs, but we're gonna put some of these in there anyways. Okay. All right, I think the sketch is there. Let's look at the top one real quick. Finish that. Some minor details here and there. And there you go. Let's see. Right, rough, but definitely presentable at this stage, and something you could sort of make sense of it, of what the heck you're looking at. So there's the silhouette, there's our drawing. And now if you have 6, 7 of these, at the end of the day, you can now present these, put some marker on it, even render it up if you want it to be really, really polished. That's up to you. The design part is now complete. And in terms of how you want to polish that presentation, is up to you. Okay. Done. Let's call that. All right. So here are 2 little spaceships. In fact, you can even just leave some of the silhouette stuff in there. It's kind of cool. It creates an interesting texture as well. I'm gonna put a little human scale in here just to establish that, especially in the early parts of a presentation. By putting a little human scale, you get to sense how big this is. I think this guy is gonna be, looks like about that big, maybe bigger. Let's see. Let's delete him. I think if that's the copy. I know these are alien-ish, but we want to compare it to if a human was standing next to it. I think something like this. A little human scale just to put in there. Average for entertainment, 6 feet high. Make it about that big. Maybe a little smaller. Let's see. That's pretty nice. That's like a F14 size, F18, something like that. Let's copy this guy over to here as well. All right, so here's a little rough presentation. So anyways, that is it. We have really run over time here. This is a pretty long episode, but it is in real time, so I apologize for the length. But hopefully you guys found this method to be very useful. And I think going forward, I'll try to finish up some of the GDC stuff as well. But going forward, I'm gonna try to do a little bit more of these as well. And maybe try to do it in real time. Let me know in the comment section if you guys think real time is good or not. And I'll use that to judge if the next episode will be like, do we fast forward it or not. So until then, sorry for the slight delay. You know, hopefully I'm now back in production. By the way, the reason for delay is we're on term break at the school. So I was actually on a personal vacation for a little bit. Just got in the office almost 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago, and catching up with all the stuff that surrounds the school. So now I'm finally caught up and back to design cinema. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in episode 84. All right, have a good weekend ahead. Bye-bye.